This video is aimed at advanced developers who would like to try to have a better understanding of the mechanics of Ajax callbacks in a UX component and optimizing some of those callbacks. So in this particular case we have a UX component with a list control and some text box controls. This particular list has been data bound to the Northwind customer table, and if we go and basically look at our controls, we can see that we have a button here that executes some action JavaScript to refresh the current row. So if we go and look at the JavaScript, we can see that we're calling the list refresh row method and to refresh the current row in the list. So this is going to do an Ajax callback and get up-to-date data for the current row. Then we have another a button, and if we go look at the definition of this button, we can see it's also using action JavaScript, and this time what we're doing here is we're populating controls on the dialog that are data bound based on the primary key that will be read from the list. So if we go here and for example, if we go to this row and then click refresh current row, an Ajax callback will be made. We'll get new data for the current row and it'll refresh that row. If I press this button, an Ajax callback will be made, and we're going to populate this data over here. So if I were to go to, say, this table over here, which is an active link table showing the data in the customer table, and let's just go there to Maria Anders and edit that record so that it now says Maria Anders without the 3 on it. And if I were to go back to this record now and click the refresh button, you can see that it got refreshed. So if we go and examine this, and then if I furthermore, if I click this button over here, it's going to execute both of these actions. So let's go now and take a look at what happens inside Firebug. So when we go to Firebug now and we click on the first row and then click refresh current row, you can see that an Ajax callback took place. The Ajax callback basically sent back a command called list command, and then the Ajax callback sent a response, and the response basically has the new data for the current row. So, and in the response, the JavaScript that got executed was get a pointer to the list object, then update the pointer with the current row with the new data, and then execute the after list refresh event. Then if we were to go back now and click the second button, we're going to get another Ajax callback, and so there's our Ajax callback to populate that data over there. On the other hand, if we were to go, for example, and press this button, which is populate and refresh and populate, what we see is 2 Ajax callbacks. We see an Ajax callback that takes place to refresh the current row, and then another Ajax callback that takes place to get the data to populate the form. So we have 2 Ajax callbacks, but obviously it would be more efficient to do everything in a single Ajax callback. So let's actually look at this. So let's go back here and look at this final button over here, which is an Ajax callback. And if I look at the code on this button, on the Ajax callback here, I can see that this Ajax callback is executing a function called xb1. So let's go take a look now at xb1, and we can see that in xb1 basically what we're doing is we're sending back, as part of our Ajax response, a JavaScript command to refresh the current row in the list, then another JavaScript command to populate controls, and each of these JavaScript commands is going to generate another callback, and then finally here is the alert that my Ajax callback is sending back. So this is my Ajax callback handler here, and it can do anything that we would like on the server and send any JavaScript back. So in this case we're sending back 3 distinct JavaScript commands. So let's take a look now at what happens when we do this. So we go there now, and let's go ahead now, and let me pause and pick this up in the next video. So we're continuing our video now on optimizing Ajax callbacks, and let's go ahead now and run the component so we can see how this Ajax callback XP1 operates. So we'll go ahead now and run it in the browser, and then I'll give focus to a row there, and then click the button to do an Ajax callback. So recall that this Ajax callback here is going to send back two JavaScript commands that in turn trigger Ajax callbacks. So when I click this button right now, you can see that the first Ajax callback takes place. The response from the server gets sent back to the browser, and that response triggers two more Ajax callbacks, and then finally the alert shows up. And of course this all happens asynchronously because Ajax is asynchronous. So what we have here is three Ajax callbacks, which of course is not as efficient as we'd like. We would prefer to click this button, have a single Ajax callback, and then have that Ajax callback compute all of the JavaScript necessary to refresh the current row in the list and also to populate these controls over here. So let's go ahead now and take a look how we can do that. So first, let me clear out the log here in Firebug, and I'm going to now let's just rerun this so that there's no current controls over here that are populated, and I'm going to give focus to elf key. You can see it just says Maria Anders. Then I'm going to go back here to the table and edit Maria Anders so that it says Maria Anders 2. Go back now to my browser and hit this button over here, and I'll explain what's going on in this button next. But you can see now when I click this button now, we get a single Ajax callback. The form here is populated, and also the current row in the list is refreshed. So now we've achieved the same thing that this Ajax callback did, but we've done it all in a single Ajax callback. And let's go back now to the component and see what happened. So we'll go to controls now, and then we'll go to the button that we just clicked, and we can see that this button is also doing an Ajax callback, and it's calling back to a function called xb_refresh row. So if we go back now to xbasic functions and look at xb_refresh row, we can see that we're calling an xbasic function called a5uxAction. We're calling it twice. The first time we're calling it is to compute the JavaScript to refresh the current row in the list, and then we're setting some properties here that get passed in. So this dot variable OPS contains a property called primary key, which is the primary key of the row we'd like to refresh. Then ops.listID is the actual ID of the list we'd like to refresh. Then e.temple is available in this e object. This is just a pointer to the actual UX component object itself, to its actual definition. And this is generally not going to be needed, excepting if the list control had date values in it, and we need to format those date values. So this xbasic function here is going to return the JavaScript necessary to refresh the current row, and then again we call it this time using the populate controls from JavaScript directive. So let's go now and put a debug1 in here to see what happens when we click on that button. So we'll go back now, and I'll click on this button over here and then click the button. So here we go, we're now in our Ajax callback. So you can see here we're inside our xb_refresh row, and if I say step, 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 and then step over that action over there, if I look now at what's in JS_refresh, I can see that JS_refresh now contains the JavaScript necessary to refresh the current row in the list. And then if I continue over here, we can see that now JS_getRecord contains the JavaScript necessary to populate the controls, and then I just return that JavaScript. So now I've done everything in a single callback, and this is of course much more efficient. Thanks very much for watching.